Good morning, children. Welcome back to the social session. Children, we have learnt and seen about different kinds of industries in the country, right from the agro-based industries to the information and technology industry and software parks we have seen. And in yesterday's homework, I asked you to write about the software parks and the IT industry. But very few of you have responded for that and written very briefly about the software parks. Children, even I told you that Bangalore is considered as the electronic capital of India. Most of the IT industry in the country is located in southern India like Chennai, Hyderabad and Bangalore. These are the three important centers of IT development. Software parks got developed in these regions. And you know, high-tech city and cyber peril of Hyderabad are known world over. And these software engineers, that mean the potentiality of the employment into this sector and the educational qualifications required to be absorbed in the industries are readily available in these areas, that is in Chennai, Hyderabad and Bangalore. Most of the software engineers are available here at a cheaper price than in the America or in other countries. That's the reason most of the countries give the outsource, they give their projects for outsourcing to our country, and we hire these employees and get the work done for them. So it is one of the most developing or a promising area where the development of the country in the contributing of the GDP is also found. Now let us go to the other side of the coin. Till now we have seen only the one side of the coin. Let us move to the other side of the coin, that is a part 2. Of course, at the end yesterday I told you about the environmental concerns that occurs because of the industries also. Now let us move on to the second part 2 of industrial development in the country. In India, a few large companies or the industries are located are operated by the government, and many more are operated by the private companies. That means private companies are there as well as public companies also operate the Indian industries. It is a joint. This kind of existence of industries run by both the government as well as the private industrialists has emerged because of the policy decided by the Indian Parliament. There are some countries where the industries will be operated only by the private people. There are certain countries where the entire industries are operated only by the public, that is by the government or either by the private. But in our country both will operate, the private as well as the public, that is government also operates the industries. This kind of arrangement was made keeping in mind or keeping in view the huge capital required, the huge amount of capital required to set up the large industries like iron and steel, cement industries. As we read in the earlier classes that for a large number of industries to come up, it is important to provide the basic inputs like the communication, infrastructure, banking. So many large inputs has to be provided, and their establishment period is also very long. Sometimes iron and steel industry may take 7 to 8 years to set up. So these all require a huge time consuming process, and hence it was presumed that government can invest in the production of the basic goods, and this would also help the privately owned businesses for their expansion. Basic good industries not only require huge money or huge capital, but also take a time consuming thing, and it is a long process. Private industrial groups or families were not willing to invest in such industries. For example, setting up of a power plant will not only produce the electricity, but in further it will help the other industries to use that power. So it would require 5 to 10 years to establish a power company or power producing industry, and the government had to undertake this responsibility of taking up of constructing such kind of power industries. Similarly, government also take the responsibility to provide the infrastructural activities like building the roads, maintaining the transport services such as railways, roadways and airways, and even the providing the natural gas and raw materials is also done by the government. And we have seen these all things. So what are the emerging problems of these industries? When you look at over the years, many of the industrial policies became a hindrance for the development of the country or for the growth of the industry. Whatever industry, policies have become a hurdle, hindrance in the sense a problem for the development or for the growth of the industry. For example, the sugar industry you can take. Okay, sugar industry is suffering a lot today. So those aspiring to set up an industrial unit were required to follow many procedures and had to wait for many years in order to get the license for the approval from the government offices, and it is not through a single window. They have to approach different offices in order to get the permission to establish a industrial unit. These were administrative hurdles and such as delays in the applications, the processing of the application, or which gave rise for the unhealthy practices in the like bribes and even the corruption. There were many instances in the country, children, where the misuse of licensing also has taken place. Licenses were not given to the most efficient producers, but they were given based upon the political recommendations. The selection was also based on the favor of people with political connections and who were economically powerful. Only for them this kind of licenses were given. Thus, the big and influential people would corner not only not one but several licenses. Some of these would be in very different and unrelated products. For example, a textile manufacturer having secured a license for cement would start a cement industry, even though the firm had no competence in the area of producing the cement. During the 1970s and 1980s, many industrial families in India had procured the licenses for the production of almost all major industrial goods, and only few people or few new people could get into the industrial production. All these discouraged the new entrepreneurs, new businessmen to enter into the industrial production. Those who were willing to take the risk of investing money in industrial production, who would work with the latest technology, was also available, but they were not given the licenses because it is considered as a license Raj system. When the government controlled the prices of certain goods, the producers of these goods also felt that there was no incentive in producing more goods. Rather, control the production, control the prices led to a shortage of goods. For example, to buy a scooter, one had to book and wait for several years previously before the scooter was actually discovered. I think you know it. Even today also the production of a car, if you want a newly launched car, you have to wait. You have to book the car and you have to wait for 2 to 3 months. So in those days, in order to get the scooter, you have to wait for 3 to 4 months. So there was a great demand for scooters than that was available in the market. Such shortages were also common for important basic goods like coal and cement also, which in turn caused a delay in the production of other goods. The shortages were blamed in the government's policy of control on industry, Indian industry. Particularly its licensing policy itself is a big mistake. Okay, that itself is a hindrance for the growth of the industry. If only these restrictions are taken away or removed from the industry, industrialists complained production could increase and shortages would be removed, and the goods can be available at a faster range than what is present now. The protective measures towards the small producers also met with a little success, with many large producers producing goods clandestinely as a small producers. So because of that, the small producers life also got completely damaged. Okay, their economic activity got disturbed as big producers were also producing the small producers goods. Another problem faced by the Indian industry was a lack of quality of some of its products. For example, compared to the topmost brand of car produced in India, there were many other car producers in the world whose cars were of better quality. Even you compare the Indian topmost brand car and you compare it with the other countries' topmost brand car. So there was a better quality and they were also very cheaper. Our products were very costly and their products were cheaper and qualitatively very good. So one of the reasons for low quality was said to be lack of competition among the producers of the Indian industries. Even among industries that were run by the private producers, competition was very limited due to the government controls. And there were controls on opening new factories and buying new technology or new machinery even. Even if you wanted to buy a new machinery import from the other countries, there were many controls by the government. In those days, not now I am talking about. These were the all challenges that Indian industry has faced during 1970s and 1980s. So private manufacturers have to obtain permission from the government in order to import the new machinery. Prices of the important industrial goods were laid down by the government and producers had to sell only at that price. Many people were of that view that Indian industry, as a result of the government's interference or government's control, wasn't modernizing fast and was producing goods at a high cost and not making technological improvement. So in case of governmental, in the case of government industrial enterprises, governments used to allocate a specific amount every year to operate these industries, and in the long run these all were expected to become independent and generate revenue for the government. But however, it was the other way around for many government run factories. They continuously required the help from the government or assistance from the government. There was regular interference in running them. Their functioning was much below the expectation. As a result of that, many of the public units are sick units today, and they are disposing it or they are disinvesting from those public industries. The new policy of industries we shall see, which has revolutionized the industrial production in the country, in the next class, children. Thank you.